Imagine sitting in a reclining chair in a cold, sterile room. A needle is inserted into your arm. A clear liquid is slowly dripping into your veins. You feel it entering your body. Within hours, you will start to vomit. Within weeks, your hair will fall out. Your bones will ache. Your immune system will collapse. Your teeth might crumble. You endure this agony because you believe it is saving your life. You believe you are fighting a war against cancer. And you believe the man in the white coat standing over you is your general, your savior. But what if the war was a lie? What if you didn't have cancer at all? This is not a hypothetical scenario. This is the reality for hundreds of patients of Dr. Farid Fata. He was the most renowned oncologist in Michigan. He had the biggest clinic, the longest lines, and the most aggressive treatment plans. But behind the prestigious degree and the expensive suits was a monster who viewed human beings not as patients, but as revenue streams. He diagnosed healthy people with cancer. He gave terminal patients, who should have been in hospice, massive doses of toxic drugs just to bill their insurance one last time before they died. He poured poison into the bodies of over 500 victims. Not because he hated them, but because he wanted to buy a castle in Lebanon and a bigger mansion in Oakland Township. This is the case of the Detroit Dr. Death. A psychological autopsy of pure greed, the God complex, and the terrifying power of the white coat. Act 1, The Savior of Detroit. To understand how a single man could inflict this much damage, we must first understand the empire he built. Dr. Farid Fata was not a back-alley doctor. He was a superstar. He arrived in the United States from Lebanon, completed his residency at prestigious institutions, and eventually settled in the wealthy suburbs of Detroit, Michigan. He founded Michigan Hematology Oncology, MHO. And he built it into a medical juggernaut. He had 7 offices. He had his own pharmacy. He had his own radiation treatment center. He employed other doctors, nurses, and staff. To the community, he was a workaholic hero. He was known for seeing 50, 60, sometimes 70 patients a day. He worked weekends. He visited patients in the hospital at midnight. Patients loved him. In the terrifying world of a cancer diagnosis, Dr. Fata offered something rare, aggression. When other doctors said, "Wait and see," Fata said, "Attack." When other doctors suggested palliative care, Fata suggested high-dose chemotherapy. Psychologically, he tapped into the primal fear of death. He presented himself as the only warrior willing to fight for you. This created a powerful, trauma bond between the doctor and his patients. They felt he was the only one trying to save them. They deified him. But if you looked closer at his practice, there were signs that this wasn't medicine. It was a factory. The waiting rooms were standing room only. Patients would wait for hours to see him for 5 minutes. And the treatment room was a nightmare. It was described by staff as a chemo mill. Rows and rows of chairs, packed with patients hooked up to IVs. The goal wasn't remission. The goal was volume. Every drop of chemotherapy drug that entered a patient's arm was a billable event to Medicare or private insurance. Every scan was money. Every injection was profit. Dr. Fata had optimized his practice for maximum revenue. And to keep the revenue flowing, he needed a constant supply of sick people. And if they weren't sick enough, he would make them sick. Act 2, The Victims and the Gaslighting. Let's look at the human cost of this business model. Meet Robert Sobiere. He came to Dr. Fata with back pain. Fata ran tests and delivered a devastating diagnosis: multiple myeloma. A rare and aggressive blood cancer. Dr. Fata prescribed an intense regimen of chemotherapy. For 2.5 years, Robert came to the clinic. He received infusions of powerful, toxic drugs. The side effects were horrific. His teeth began to rot and fall out, a known side effect of the specific drugs Fata used, Zometa. His jawbone began to disintegrate. He lost his strength. He lost his ability to work. He lived in constant fear that he was dying. But he kept coming back. Because Dr. Fata told him, without this, you will die. Here is the twist, Robert Sobieray never had cancer. He never had multiple myeloma. He had a benign blood condition that required monitoring, not chemo. Dr. Fata knew this. He looked at the clean test results, and lied to Robert's face. Why? Because a healthy patient with back pain is worth a few $100s. A cancer patient receiving monthly chemotherapy is worth hundreds of thousands. This is the ultimate form of medical gaslighting. When Robert questioned why he wasn't getting better, or why his teeth were falling out, Fata turned it around. He acted offended. He used his authority to crush Robert's intuition. I am the expert, was the unspoken message. You are just the patient. Then there was Patty Hester. She went to see Dr. Fata after an abnormal blood test. Fata told her she had myelodysplastic syndrome, MDS. He told her she needed immediate chemotherapy, or she would develop acute leukemia. Patty was terrified. She started the treatment. She gave samples of her bone marrow. Then, she did something that most of Fata's patients didn't do. She sought a second opinion. She went to another doctor. That doctor looked at her charts and was confused. You don't have MDS, he said. You are healthy. Patty was relieved, but also confused. She went back to Dr. Fata and told him what the other doctor said. Fata's reaction was explosive. He didn't check his notes. He didn't apologize. He became angry. He yelled at her. He told her the other doctor was incompetent. He terrified her back into submission. This is the God complex in action. A narcissist cannot tolerate being questioned. To Fata, the patient's body was not their own, it was his territory. Patty Hester eventually escaped his care. But hundreds of others did not. They trusted the white coat. And that trust was being used to kill them. Act 3, The Whistleblower. For years, Dr. Fata operated with total impunity. His empire grew. His wealth accumulated. He seemed untouchable because his authority was absolute. Patients didn't question him because they were fighting for their lives. Insurance companies didn't question him because the paperwork was perfect. But there were people watching who knew something was wrong. The staff inside Michigan Hematology Oncology were witnessing a horror show. Nurses were burning out at an alarming rate. Some would leave in tears. They saw patients who were clearly dying, patients who should have been in hospice, surrounded by family, being hooked up to toxic chemotherapy drips until their final breath. They saw healthy people wasting away. But fear kept them silent. Dr. Fata was a tyrant. He controlled their careers. It took an outsider to break the silence. In 2013, a man named George Karadshev was hired as the practice manager. He wasn't a doctor, he was a businessman. His job was to optimize the clinic. But shortly after he started, another oncologist in the practice, Dr. So Monglay, came to him. Dr. Monglay was shaking. He had caught a glimpse of a patient's chart, a patient being treated by Dr. Fata. The patient had a simple leg fracture. But Fata was pumping him full of chemotherapy. Dr. Monglay told George, "This is wrong. This is unethical. This is dangerous." George Karadshev listened. And then he started to look at the data. What he found was a mathematical impossibility. In the world of oncology, aggressive chemotherapy is a tool, but it is not the only tool. Yet, in Dr. Fata's clinic, almost every single patient received the most expensive, most aggressive drugs available. The billing records showed that Fata was administering rituximab, a powerful drug used for lymphoma, at rates that defied statistical logic. He had purchased more of this drug than almost any other doctor in the entire country. George realized that this wasn't just aggressive medicine. This was fraud. And it was battery. He knew that if he went to the state medical board, it might take years. Dr. Fata would lawyer up. He would continue to practice. Patients would continue to die. So George Carrigshed did the only thing that could stop a monster of this magnitude immediately. He went to the FBI. He laid out the evidence. He told them, "This man is poisoning people for money." The FBI didn't wait. They understood the urgency. Every day Fata remained open was a day another healthy person was poisoned. They brought in an independent oncologist from Harvard to review a random sample of Fata's files. The expert's conclusion was swift and damning. He didn't just find errors. He found intentional malpractice in almost every single file he touched. He told the agents, "This is not medicine. This is torture." Act 4, The Raid. On the morning of August 6, 2013, the facade of the Savior of Detroit finally crumbled. Dozens of FBI agents, armed and wearing raid jackets, stormed the offices of Michigan Hematology Oncology. They seized computers. They seized thousands of medical files. They seized the servers. Inside the clinic, the scene was chaotic. Patients were sitting in chairs, hooked up to IVs, receiving the very poison the FBI was there to stop. Dr. Farid Fata was arrested. His reaction to the arrest is a profound insight into his psychology. He didn't ask about his patients. He didn't express concern for their continuity of care. His concern was his assets. He was worried about his money. When the news broke, the community was in shock. Patients who were currently undergoing treatment, people who believed they were fighting cancer, suddenly had to face a terrifying reality. Did they have cancer? Or was it all a lie? The aftermath was a humanitarian crisis. Thousands of patients had to retrieve their medical records and flock to other hospitals to get re-evaluated. The stories that emerged were shattering. There was the story of a man who was told he had lung cancer. He underwent months of chemo. He lost his job. He lost his health. After the raid, he went to a new doctor. The new doctor looked at the scans and said, "You never had cancer. You had a spot on your lung. It was an infection." There were women who were told their cancer had returned, only to find out they were in remission the whole time. The investigation revealed the scale of the horror. 553 victims. $34 million in fraudulent claims to Medicare and private insurance. Fata had a system. He would lie about the diagnosis. Or, if the patient did have cancer, he would lie about the stage. He would prescribe chemotherapy for end-of-life patients, knowing it would do nothing but increase their suffering, simply because he could bill for it. This is the definition of psychopathy. He viewed his patients as units of currency. Their pain was irrelevant. Their death was just the end of a transaction. He was denied bail. The judge rightly deemed him a flight risk, noting his significant liquid assets and his ties to Lebanon. For nearly 2 years, Fata sat in jail, while his lawyers tried to negotiate. But the evidence was overwhelming. The medical files were written confessions of his crimes. Act 5, The Sentencing and the Legacy. In September 2014, Dr. Farid Fata pleaded guilty. But he didn't plead guilty to everything. He pleaded to 13 counts of healthcare fraud, 1 count of conspiracy, and 2 counts of money laundering. It was a strategic plea. He was hoping for leniency. He was hoping the court would see this as a financial crime, a white-collar offense. But the victims ensured that the world knew this was a violent crime. The sentencing hearing in July 2015 was unlike anything the court had ever seen. It lasted for days. Dozens of victims walked to the podium. Some walked with canes. Some were in wheelchairs. Some were the children of parents who had died in agony. They wore bright yellow clothing, a symbol of their survival and their demand for justice. They told stories of teeth that crumbled out of their heads. Of bones that became so brittle they snapped. Of immune systems destroyed forever. They spoke of the psychological torture of believing you are dying, saying goodbye to your children, writing your will, only to find out it was a lie for profit. One victim looked at Fata and said, "You are a monster. You used my body as your ATM." Another said, "I hate you. You are a murderer." When it was Fata's turn to speak, he tried to manipulate the room one last time. He cried. He shook. He claimed he was ashamed. He said he had violated the sacred trust. But his tears felt rehearsed. It was the performance of a narcissist who was sorry he got caught, not sorry for what he did. Federal Judge Paul Borman was not swayed. He looked at the man in the orange jumpsuit and delivered a blistering rebuke. He said, "This is a huge, horrific series of criminal acts. You practiced medicine as a weapon." The prosecution asked for 175 years. The defense asked for 25. Judge Borman sentenced Dr. Farid Fata to 45 years in federal prison. Given his age, it was effectively a life sentence. As Fata was led away, there was no applause. Just a heavy, somber relief. The legacy of Dr. Farid Fata is a scar on the medical profession that may never fully heal. He exposed the vulnerability of the system. He showed how the fee-for-service model of American healthcare can incentivize overtreatment. He showed how the reverence we hold for doctors can blind us to their red flags. Psychologically, he remains a terrifying anomaly. He wasn't motivated by sexual sadism like a typical serial killer. He wasn't motivated by political ideology. He was motivated by the banality of greed. He destroyed hundreds of lives so he could buy a bigger house. He tortured people so he could build a castle in Lebanon. He proves that you don't need a gun to be a mass murderer. You just need a prescription pad, a white coat, and a soul empty enough to sell human suffering for cash. He is the doctor of death. And while he is locked away, the question remains. How many others are out there, prioritizing profit over the oath to do no harm?